Well, good morning, everybody. Bill Cloud here once again, and this is On This Day. Today, it's the 18th day of the month Adar, and it was on this day in the year 1953 that the Soviet dictator and murderer, I might add, Joseph Stalin died. In fact, his death occurred on the very day that certain Soviet Jews who had been charged with treason were brought to trial. And this trial, according to Stalin's intent, was destined to bring about a guilty verdict because it was intended to be the excuse for him to deport millions of Russian Jews from the Soviet Union. But of course, his death disrupted all of that. Now, on one hand, you might think that Jews being deported from the Soviet Union in the 1950s might not have been such a bad idea. But had they been deported at that time in history, where would they have gone? Now, the fledgling state of Israel would probably have taken them in, but would they have been able to support them at that particular time? And so we have the potential for millions of Jewish families to be dispersed throughout the entire world. Now, that brings me to this point. The God of Israel intended to bring those Jews out of the Soviet Union and into the land of Israel, but in His time. And it seems that His time was about 35 years later. So then we can conclude that there is an appointed time for everything that God has determined to come to pass. In fact, Ecclesiastes 3 tells us this. To everything there is a season, a time for every purpose under heaven, a time to be born and a time to die, a time to plant and a time to pluck what is planted. As an individual, as a fellowship, as a family, as a nation, we know that the Father has made certain promises about our future, and we believe that He is going to keep those promises. Still, just because we know something has been ordained and that it will at some point come to pass, doesn't necessarily mean that we're supposed to try to figure out when it's going to come to pass or even how it's going to come to pass. And the Messiah made this very clear when His disciples asked Him in Acts chapter 1, are you going to now restore again the kingdom to Israel? Now His answer to them, and we won't quote it here, but His answer to them essentially was this, that trying to figure out all those things, the how, the when, the where, that wasn't their job. But what they needed to focus on was what He told them in verses 7 and 8 of Acts chapter 1. It's not for you to know times or seasons which the Father has put in His own authority, but you shall receive power when the Holy Spirit has come upon you, and you shall be witnesses to me in Jerusalem and in all Judea and Samaria and to the end of the earth. So even though our Father will allow us to see the big picture and will at times allow us to see what's going to happen, He doesn't always give us the intricate details of the process. Therefore, it's very important that during the process, we remain faithful to what He's given us to do. That is, what He's given us to do today, so that what He has promised for tomorrow may come to pass. You see, in this process, we're going to have to listen very intently. We're going to have to recognize His voice, and we're going to have to be sensitive to His command and to trust in His faithfulness. When we walk by faith, the knowledge that He gives us today and the knowledge that He gives us tomorrow is going to continue to grow. And we know that He who has begun a good work within us is going to be faithful to complete it. But in His time and in His way. Thanks for joining me today. We'll see you again tomorrow. Shalom.
Like what you're hearing? Become a Bill Cloud Premium Partner to watch or listen to hundreds of hours of teachings and resources on demand. Go to BillCloud.com/subscribe to start watching today.